Here's 5 things we learned from a very frustrating defeat down at Arsenal. I think a big one for me is the performance of Anthony Gordon. Look, I was really excited to see him back. Time after time again, he got the ball in areas where you want Anthony Gordon to have it, especially away from home, but his final product just wasn't there. He hasn't really hit the ground running this season. I think even he would admit that. But I think our disappointment comes from knowing how good the player can be. But I don't buy into any of this talk of selling him. I do think he's an asset. I do think he's one of the most unique wingers in the league. And because we've seen how good he can be, let's give him a pre-season and get back at it next year. Next one's got to be Callum Wilson. Now, a man starved of so few minutes with his contract about to run down. Probably couldn't have even dreamt of getting a start this late in the season with so much to play for, but he did. And to be totally honest with you, I think he lost his chance to finally get that elusive 50th goal for Newcastle before he signs off. I watched him play on Sunday, and look, I've got no doubts that predatory instinct that Eddie Howe probably still sees in training still exists when he's through on goal and he's taking shots at a goalkeeper. But after so many injuries, for me, it just looks like his pace and also his ability to create chances for himself isn't there anymore. Would that change with more minutes? Maybe, but look, we aren't a club with the luxury of giving him that anymore. And I feel like with Alexander Isak and hopefully money spent in the summer, his time looks up. And that was maybe his one last chance to remind us of why he could maybe do with a 1-year contract. A chance not really taken for me. Next up, bit of an odd one. Has anyone noticed that Jacob Murphy, when he plays away from home, just doesn't seem quite the same player? Look, he's been playing a position the last 2 matches that this man does not want to be playing, if he was being honest. And I've absolutely loved every bit of the form of this man, so I feel bad even saying anything negative. But when he's away from home, he just doesn't seem to get forward as much. He doesn't seem as confident with the ball, and he certainly doesn't shoot as much. His expected goals and assists is considerably low, and whilst he does have the same amount of assists away, his shots are almost half as well. Just a bit of a weird observation. That second half was frustrating, but what it highlighted to me a little bit, as it has in quite a few matches, is when the going gets a little bit tough and Eddie Howe makes a tactical change to his system, we still don't have that depth, especially with injuries, for the players to come on the pitch and impact it. Lewis Miley's one for the future. Joe Willock hasn't really hit the ground running, and Asula's still very raw. We are looking at a huge summer, and second halves like at Arsenal just highlight that even more for me. Look, Sunday was frustrating, and had it not been for David Ray, we would already be celebrating having Champions League wrapped up. But if you'd offered me the Carabao Cup and Champions League in our own hands on the final day of the season, I would have grabbed both of your bollocks off and said thank you very much. What a season it's been. What a position to be in. Now we've got one job to do, and that's beat an Everton team with injuries of their own and nothing to play for. Let us know your thoughts on these 5 points down below, Newcastle fans, and as always, keep the faith. Who are you, lads?